about how God delivered the man that He ordained for me right in my kitchen. It's New Year's Day, and the first thing that I do is take a look. And when I turned around, this man was on his knees in the duty free. By the time you're watching this, it's gonna be past New Year's Day, I'm sure. But this was recorded on, it's about 6:05 New Year's Eve. And I have a packed afternoon or evening, I should say. My mother and my nephew, they're both here, and I'm taking them to an event. So while they're at the event, it's not an event. Most of us have been to the event already, so we want them to have the experience. And we will be hanging out somewhere with my son, his friends, his female friend, and all of that. Plus some other folks who may be joining us, waiting while my mom and my brother, my nephew, I should say, and while they're finished with their event, and then we are gonna head back home. The key is to get back home before midnight for two reasons. One, if you live in Jamaica, you know about the salute that is done. Of course, it's illegal, but people take up arms and they use those arms to release in the air. And I don't want any stray anything reach me. So I'm either usually in church or at my yard. This year, because of what's happening, I'm gonna be at home. And the great thing about being at home is we can actually watch from home the fireworks at the waterfront. I'll show you in a second through a glass where or what that area looks like. And I may just show it to you later. This is gonna be probably, or this video is it's gonna transcend a few days. So it's gonna start today. It's probably gonna include what happens tomorrow. But I promise I won't keep it too long. But you know what I'm gonna have to do in this video, as is requested in the comments? In the last video, or by now it would be 2 videos ago, I spoke about how God delivered the man that He ordained for me right in my kitchen. And this is after my mother and other people kept saying, oh, if you don't go out, you won't meet anyone. And I'm a homebody, so I'm gonna stay home. And back then I was working in corporate. I had a lot of responsibilities and I didn't have the luxury of going out to meet men. It just wasn't on my agenda. And frankly speaking, I had been married in the past. So if I didn't get married again, I would have been fine because I thoroughly enjoy my own company. To a fault sometimes, but it is what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna show you where we're gonna watch the fireworks from, and I'll probably show you if I remember. This is like through a glass. I don't know, let me come here. So you can see the cityscape down there, and basically the fireworks will be closer over to your left. But like I said, I'm gonna try to bring you along, if I remember, and show you what the fireworks look like. That said, I'm going to tell you between now and that time, or by the time before the video is done, how I met my husband right at home in what was at the time my kitchen, without going out. And that's why faith, I talked about it in a previous video, but that's why faith is so important. Because if you believe that, if you want to have a partner, because I don't know why everybody feels that they must have a man to feel complete. No, if you're not complete before you meet that man, he may not stay. You need to be complete as a person, and the man will complement you, or the woman, if you're a man watching, will complement you. So I didn't need a man to complete me. I wanted a man to complement me and to help me to be my best self while I help him to be his best self. And God delivered him in the kitchen. So stay tuned. I'm going to head out now because I need to get my mother and my nephew to the event. Mommy, you're not ready? You ready? All right, guys, they're ready. So I'll check in later. So that was my neighbors warming up for New Year's. Let me see what time it is. It's now 11:30, and let me show you where the fireworks will happen. It's gonna happen down that side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Poor neighbor, obviously a firecracker.
This ride, feeling alive, nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we're making this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight.
It's New Year's Day, and the first thing that I do, even before I wipe out the matter out of my eye good, is take a look. Apply for NHT refund. And for those of you who don't know, if you have worked in Jamaica and you have paid taxes here, specifically NHT, after 7 years of paying taxes, the following year you can apply, assuming you did not cash in on your NHT benefits. But even if you cash in on your NHT benefits in the form of a mortgage or something like that, there's a time period that needs to pass before you get access to your refunds again, but you can get access to them. So you can check that out. So the site is nht.gov.jm. And when you go on it, you go right here where it says contribution refund, and you click I agree, and you start the refund process. The thing is, no matter how much money you have, you should never leave money on the table. And just like that, the application is
up on the people in video.
And just like,
Stop it, man.
and just like that, the application.
Well,
I can't fix up my head. That's how I look when I wake up. It would be fake.
you have to show them you that.
And just like that, the application is complete.
So the tune of a record. So the tune of a record. The clock strikes 12, the fireworks start. The neighbors dog barking like a true yard guard. Hot covers planning, big people balling. New Year reach, where the sorrow gone, darling. Granny in the corner with her rum punch night. Cleaning is the only thing to start the year right. Uncle Roy gone missing with a plate of curry goat. Found him on the veranda with a Guinness and remote. Oh, New Year in jam down, this pure vibes we bring. Pan chicken firecrackers, everybody a sing. Raise a glass, take a shot.
Ladies and gentlemen, raise your glasses. Now, the Frenchman Experience 2024.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Don't pull right down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Don't pull right down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Flashing red lights, driving at night. Windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we're making this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight.
Hey, Richie!
ladies and gentlemen.
For 2025 and beyond.
So this is the day after New Year's Day, and after leaving that party that you just saw, couldn't wake up, but I finally woke up and it's now 5 o'clock. We're at Encore 2 with, of course, friends. So there is Albert, or Bertie, and Acacia, who is Bertie's daughter. Of course, you guys know my girlfriend Charlotte because she was the matron of honor at my wedding video that was posted. This is Shelly, our friend, visiting from Mobay. Of course, Bertie's here, and hubby's on his way. Yeah, we eat the soup. You want soup? And that's Willard, superstar server for many, many, many years. So I'm sitting here getting ready to record a video on my other channel, Odetta Rocket Car, and it dawned on me that I still haven't told you how I've met my husband, or I should say how God delivered my husband into my kitchen when I wasn't even on the market to find a man. So I figure let me add this story to a video that I've been recording for a few days to include, by now you would have seen what I did for New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I'm not keeping track of the days anymore, but it's over a few days. And by now you would have seen all of that. So I'm slapping this on to the end of that video. Hopefully it doesn't go too long. But what had happened was I was married before, and it lasted only 3 years. And it wasn't because the man I was married to wasn't a good man. He was just not the man for me. We had different morals. He believed in different things, and these things contradict with my Christian values. So I wasn't going to stay in that marriage, and I'm from the era of Elizabeth Taylor, and I also believe that getting married and having a successful union is like any other goal out there that you set for yourself, right? And when you set a goal and you fail at it, or I should say you learn, because it's not really failure, if you take the lessons and learn from them and then impart them in your life in the future. But like I was saying, I don't believe I should treat marriage any differently. Is that a word? Yeah, you guys can figure it out. Any differently from how I treat any other goal. So if I set out as an example to achieve a certain lifestyle, as an example, and I don't achieve it, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to explore what other options I need to pursue, and I'm going to go at it again. Why should marriage be any different? I'm in a marriage. It's not what I expected. Respectfully, I'm going to walk away, which I did, and I'm going to give myself another opportunity at love if it does come my way. The good thing about not needing a man to complete you is that you're never in a rush to find someone. You really are looking for someone to complement you. So that was the case with my ex-relationship, and it broke up. It wasn't on the best terms, but we're civil human beings, so we created a situation that was amicable. Let's just say that. However, it meant that I moved out of the matrimonial home and actually gave it to my ex-husband because I already had properties, and I believe, you shouldn't be one of those kind of women who try to tear down a man because something didn't work out. Because believe it or not, your blessings are being counted, and God is not sleeping when you're doing that. So I left the house, and eventually it got sold, and we split the proceeds and so on. But I had gotten an offer shortly afterwards to start a company, or I should say to launch a company in another part of Jamaica from where I was living. And it resulted in me moving. And when I moved initially, I was living in a townhouse because the company put me up in a very, very nice townhouse, I must say. But as a country girl, I'm used to the country life. I like the big yard and, the space and just that kind of thing. And where they had put me up, very nice area as well, but it just wasn't cutting it for me. So I started to look for a place to live. Now, during this time, I was dating, but I wouldn't say it was anything serious. I wasn't looking to be married again anytime soon, frankly speaking, because I was thoroughly enjoying my own company. I'll be honest with you guys. I have been in a serious relationship. My first relationship started when I was in college, and that's when I got pregnant, dropped out of college, and we were together for over a decade, or close to a decade, I should say. And that relationship, it set the bar so high because we kind of drifted apart. But that relationship set the bar so high that whenever I came across a man that didn't meet up to that standard, I just wasn't interested. And because I was in a relationship from such an early age, I didn't get to sow your oats, as they would say, meaning I didn't get to date different people, experiment and explore, because I got committed in a relationship. I shouldn't say committed, because it was a relationship found on one of the most beautiful love experiences that I've had. But the bottom line is I never dated, I never explored, I never did all that thing. So I decided before I get married again, I was going to meet new people, I was going to date, I was going to do different things. And I must tell you, I was having a blast doing it. So I didn't have any marriage on my agenda or anything. But then, like I was saying, I got tired of living in this complex. It's a townhouse complex because I wasn't raised that way. So I started to look for a property to buy in this place where I was starting the company. And I did not know how long I was going to stay, but I'm a big believer in real estate investment, and I believe I should have a property everywhere. So it didn't matter. I was going to find something, and I started to look. And my friends actually who lived in this particular community, they were walking by and they found a property and they sent me a picture, and immediately I fell in love. Now, it wasn't complete, but I saw the vision. It had this big hole in the ground where a pool was supposed to be, just in shambles, for want of a better term. But I could see what it could become. So I took the leap and I got that property. Now, my son and I were living in a strange place in the bush, in the middle of nowhere, at this property where we have a lot of land and just everything that I've always wanted. So I was going to make it work whether we were alone or not. I mean, I had my staff. I always had a housekeeper. She moved everywhere with me. God bless her heart. And I also have an amazing, I call him a property manager now because he manages multiple properties and so on, but he's everywhere. He moves everywhere with me as well. So I wasn't alone. It was my son, myself, and, my staff members who are family members. Now, I have a friend. His name is Squid. Now, if you watch the wedding video that I posted on this channel, my reception video, you would see when he was leaving, and Leighton, who was my MC, said, that's the man that introduced the bride and the groom. Now, Squid is always looking out for me, and I love him for that. As a matter of fact, Squid actually introduced me to someone before my current husband, but it just didn't work out. But he's always looking out for me as his sister. We're not biological relatives, but that's how we live. And what he did was, because he felt that, we were kind of in this remote place living, every weekend or every other weekend, Squid would come to our house and he would cook what we call blackanese. Basically, he takes his wok and he does Chinese food on the grill. But because Squid is a black man, we call it blackanese. I'm sure you get the gist. Anyway, he would take his wok and he would come to the house basically to keep our company. And he would cook and he would invite people over. And I trust Squid's judgment. So anybody he invites over becomes family and friends automatically. And we did this for several months after I moved into this particular house. And eventually he brought someone home. Now before this, my whole family got worried about us living in what seemed like the middle of nowhere. It's kind of remote, but not remote because I don't have neighbors, but remote because it's far away in their minds from the busy thoroughfares. But it was ideal for me because it was 8 to 10 minutes away. But when you're here, or when you're at that home, I should say, it feels like you're in a totally different place. Anyway, this friend of mine, Squid, he decided to take a friend that he went to all-age school with one of the weekends when he was coming by to prepare his black anise and for us to cook and all that good stuff. So when he showed up, he's always introducing me to a lot of people because he'll take like 10, 20 people. So it's not like my future husband would stand out. But because my family was so worried about me living in this remote place, my mother would say, you're not going to meet anybody at home because I'm a homebody. I'm going to stay home unless I have somewhere to go. And worse, now that I'm retired, as a matter of fact, I'm having problems with my vehicle, just to show you, because the tires lose air. And when I go to the tire shop and say, why is this happening? They say it's because I'm not driving the vehicle. So I'm now contemplating, do I even need a vehicle? Because it's a waste of money. Anyway, that's just to give you a perspective on how much I love staying home. And back then it was no different. I was running a company, a US company. It was a large conglomerate that I grew to over 6,000 employees. So that's taxing from Monday to Friday and sometimes on the weekend. So on the weekends, I wasn't going to go anywhere. And my mother and, my auntie and everybody kept saying, you're not going to meet anybody at your home and you need somebody to be there with you. It's a big house. Blah, blah, blah. You know the whole story of mothers being protective, right? So despite her thinking, the most amazing thing is when you have faith and you pray. And what I would pray for was not to be married because, like I said, I was okay and having fun being single. What I prayed for was for God to determine if marriage is the right thing for me. And if it is, to send the man that him, God, ordains for me. And I shouldn't have to exhibit any major effort other than make sure I look nice and presentable and make sure that I'm living the kind of life and I have the persona or the personality or the character trait of someone I would date. Because that's what a lot of people don't realize. They're toxic, they have all kind of issues, and they complain that they can't find anybody. You have to always ask yourself the question, would you date you? So I had to keep working on myself to make sure that mentally, spiritually, physically, as best as I possibly can, I am dateable. And I would date me if I was in that position. But that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to go out and have to go clubbing and all that. That's not me. Anyway, God has a sense of humor because Squid took my future husband right to my kitchen on one of these days when he was cooking his famous black anise. And initially, because it was about 20 or so people, I think I have a photograph of that day. If I can find it, I'll share it here. But if I can't, just imagine it. But it was about 20 of us. I had my friends there and he had his friends there. And we were having a blast. And I didn't really pick out his friend and say, oh, that guy looks great. It wasn't like that. It wasn't love at first sight. It wasn't even attraction at first sight, if there is such a thing. It was more, he's around Squid, so he's likely a good person. And we just had conversation. Now, that particular day, we ended up, after we cooked and we went outside, some persons were swimming, all kind of things. We ended up staying until 3 a.m. in the morning. And the only persons left after about 10 or so, 10 p.m. was my future husband, which I didn't know was my future husband, and another friend, and of course Squid and another friend. I think it was 5 of us left. And we were sitting, talking, and just having a good time. And I paid attention to his conversation. And, Squid would ask him, how is his parents? And, that kind of thing. And I realized that he was one of the primary caregivers for his parents at the time. He spoke so caringly, so passionately about his parents and his son. And immediately he got my attention, but I still thought he would be a friend because I wasn't necessarily looking. Anyway, we had great conversation. He stood out. Also, we played what we call in Jamaica a splash. So basically, we were picking music based on our knowledge and going up against each other to see who had the best tune. So we were playing that, and I realized that he was an old soul. So he liked the same Percy Sledge and, those artists from that time, the Alton Ellis, you guys know who they are, right? From that era. And I thought to myself, okay, so, we have that in common, but still in my head, it was friendship. Anyway, back to work the next week. Everything is gone back to normal. Nobody is thinking about future husband kind of thing. But I end up on the weekend again, and guess who is coming over to make black anise? Squid. And guess who came with Squid again? So I realized he was becoming a staple. So he came with Squid, and now we're hanging out, but this weekend we were going to my friends Donovan and Zarna's house because they were the ones doing the cookout this particular weekend. So Squid came here for me because I didn't know, I don't know why they came. No, Squid actually asked him to come and pick me up. So I didn't have to drive. And he came and was such a gentleman. He opened the door for me, had me sit down. And again, those antlers or whatever they are went off to say, he was raised right. But still nothing. And we went to that event. I remember I fell asleep in Donovan and Zarna's hammock. And fell asleep and fell out of the hammock on the ground, and everybody was laughing after me. I have those kind of friends, right? They laugh first and then check after to see if you're okay. So I fell out of the hammock while sleeping. Everybody was laughing at me, and he came and helped me up, made sure I was fine and everything, and then everybody else came after. So he was very proactive and he was paying attention. Now, if you ask my husband, which I'll probably ask him to tell you his side of the story another time, he's going to tell you a totally different experience. But that's why I have the channel and you're hearing my side. He's going to tell you how he swept me off my feet from day one. Absolutely nothing like that. Anyway, those weekends became the norm. It was every weekend that we were linking up. And it happened for a while, and we developed a friendship. So now we start talking on our phone with each other, independent of Squid, independent of our friends. And after some time, we decided that, it was time to get to know each other. And we went on a little trip out of town by ourselves. And we certainly did get to know each other. Let's just leave it there. And then I realized, okay, this is the icing on the cake. And that's when I started. Before that, I started to see him as a boyfriend. But after that weekend and everything else, I started to see him as a future husband. And then we started to meet each other's family. We had Christmas dinner together. And, when you have faith and you pray to God for something, what a lot of people don't realize is when you say you don't want to work, you're going to prepare yourself. Because I don't believe in luck. I believe that what people describe as luck is when opportunity meets preparation. I prepared myself, made sure I was dateable, and the opportunity came and it resulted in us getting married. But when you have faith and know that, and trust, I should say, God to deliver this man to you, it's only a matter of time before it happens. And God has a way of blowing our mind when he delivers. And this was nothing short of that. And here's the other way that God blows your mind. You know how sometimes you would be dating and you're wondering when the man going to pop the question? Absolutely not. Within 3 or 4 months of us going out steadily, he fell on his knees. We were actually in Ocherius. I think we were at a hotel there. And he said, come, let me take you shopping. And we went to the duty free in Ocherius. And he was buying other stuff for me. But I realized he was over there for a while with one of the guys that was selling in the duty free store. And I said, what is this man doing over there? But I realized the person was familiar. It wasn't a stranger. And then just like that, I was there trying on the watch. And when I turned around, this man was on his knees in the duty free a few months after we met, asking me to be his wife. And of course I said yes. I'd seen all the characters. I'm not one who believes in dating forever either. Because one, as a Christian, I want to live as best as I can. I'm not perfect. I do sin. But I want to live as best as I can, as the word of God would suggest, which means, you're supposed to marry before you do anything. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't like to date a long time because I want to do things. So I'm not going to try to hold off for a year like I'm any expert wearing a chastity belt. Chastity belt is what it's called. Anyway, so I was glad when he proposed. I said yes. And many years later, over a decade actually, we have been together. We have a friendship as husband and wife that I can't even explain. We're each other's sounding board. We do conflict a lot on different things. Like in our family, he's the CEO, I'm the CFO, so I manage the money and he manages the operation. And when I'm ready to spend and he's trying to tell me how I shouldn't spend, or vice versa, when I don't want to spend and we have conflict because none of us are perfect. But just the friendship that we have, the togetherness, I've never experienced that in any of the many relationships that I had when I was having fun, or the 2 other serious relationships, because I've only had 3 serious relationships in my life. The first one lasted for 10 years. My ex-husband, that we were married for 3 years. We were together, I think in total 5 years or something like that. And then my current husband. In between my ex-husband and my current husband was the only time I really dated. And it was never anything serious that could lead to marriage or anything like that. So I think I have enough experience to say, I know for a fact that he's the best thing that has happened to me from a man or a husband perspective. And I'm grateful to God for that. So that's a story. It's interesting, like I said, how many persons out there will say they can't meet anyone or it's so hard to meet people and they have to step out of their comfort zone or do things to meet people. My advice to you is to make sure that you're dateable. Make sure that you would date yourself and pray and have faith, because the God that I serve, he always delivers. Take care of yourself.